Welcome to another Gamma Partner program, Featured Artist of the Week. This week we talk with Mubootes. Mubootes discusses everything from opening a gallery to his process to where he began as an artist and how he really likes to focus on the little things. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Very excited to have Mubootes here. It's a pleasure to have you on. Welcome, Mubootes. As we do every time we start one of these, I just love to learn more about you as a person, as a creator, as an artist. You can go back as far as you like, back to little Mubootes. How did you become the person and the artist that you are today? And again, welcome.
Yeah, no, total pleasure, Brett. How did I become an artist? How did I get to this point today? Yeah, I mean that's a really tricky question to start off with. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is I grew up in a household that was full of art, visual art, and writing. So although I kind of didn't really start creating art in a more traditional sense, until probably like my early 20s. I had such a huge context that I think it was probably inevitable, really, with what I grew up with. So once I did begin to sort of create, it flowed very very naturally.
And that's so unique. I think when you grow up around art, it can certainly influence you. Do you remember anything that really did catch your eye, or do you remember enjoying creating? Think a little bit further back, and I guess were you drawing, were you painting, were you hands-on when you were younger?
Yeah, I think definitely. Well, but I think this is why I think all kids are artists. Well, I think all people are artists before we get told we're not artists, or one shouldn't create art. I think definitely drew a lot, read a lot, was very outdoorsy. Creating inventions or objects or using things. But I kind of just see that as being what all kids ideally get up to. So it probably wasn't really until I picked up a camera, which was really the first, I'd say, artistic medium for me. That I realized how much I enjoyed it, but I also began getting feedback from people that I kind of respected that kind of did cut through for me. It was like, this is actually like a couple of people in particular who said, like, I know you kind of like, I know I've said this before, and you're like, thank you and stuff, but like, I really want you to hear this. Like, this is actually very good. Like if you want to pursue this, you really should. So that was probably, that medium would have been the starting point. So that kind of ran concurrent, I think, to getting into photography. So I hosted in a traditional context, a radio show for a couple of years, and I mean I love music, but sort of producing and speaking, like I think art there's art forms that are super recognizable to us all, but I also think how you lay a table for a special family dinner, or how you select a gift for someone, or how you interact with someone and movements, right? I mean, I think art runs through all those things. So yeah, I definitely think broadcasting, or the art of conversation, was another earlier sort of space that I explored.
So yeah, you're spot on. It's so interesting to think that art really drives culture, and laying a table or the way that you move your body, even body language, is an art. And it's fascinating because you can think about, in Japan, for example, there's a long study on how to pour tea correctly. And so I love that you mentioned that. And tell me about when you picked up that camera and when it was, and perhaps how that's led to the point that you are now as a creator.
Yeah, actually, I spent a bit of time in Japan, so my mind is flashing with some photos that I took in Japan, including a tea ceremony.
I love that.
Yeah, um, yeah. I think what I really enjoyed, and I still do with photography, is like I, most of my photos were taken sort of zoomed in, so zoomed in on people, zoomed in on scenes, um, and, and capturing the small details will interest me. Like there can be a tiny maybe taking a photograph of someone and they're very, they're kind of immaculate. But like I took a photo of a friend once, I remember this, and immaculate, very beautiful, magazine kind of quality image from a distance. But you zoom in and you can kind of see like on, let's say, her nail polish, and there's just a little like rough edge or something like that. Like I think those small little aspects of humanity coming through something are far more interesting to me than a perfectly put together photograph. And that's just sort of one example, but a little scuff mark here or a little corner of something here that's a bit different. That's what I find fascinating. Photography.
And it's a beautiful segue, because thinking about some of the things that I've seen you create, and I'll pull it up, your Friends for Breakfast collection that you put out on Stacks, and I know that you have done it elsewhere, and you can dig into it. You do use the small things, the little details, to create beauty. I'm going to pull it up while you discuss that.
Yeah, try to create beauty for sure.
Well, I think
no, I'll embrace it. I do. So the Friends for Breakfast. So that basically, I was traveling around Turkey with a friend, and lo and behold, there were some flamingos on the side of the road. So we pulled over, and I went in and shot some pictures of a flamingo. So when I went to create this piece, I used a photograph I took of a flamingo as like a base. Then I illustrated a pink grapefruit, and then I used that pink grapefruit to form the body of the flamingo and the shape of the photograph that I took. And then I sliced up another version of that blood orange into, I don't know what it was, 30 pieces. But each, and then I stuck it into the flamingo piece by piece. And then the sort of excess pieces left over were dumped into the pile within that work. But they are like, you could literally extract all those pieces and put back together, a pink grapefruit. So yeah, it's a series of, it's an addition of 10, but it's really a series of 10 actually one-of-ones, because each one has one more or one less slice within the flamingo, and conversely more or less within the pile. So it's up to you, the viewer, to decide, is the other flamingo putting these slices or needles into the other one, or is it extracting them?
And I love that you said that, because I was going to ask, and again, a lovely segue. You're doing a great job. Thanks, Mubootes. When you create, talk to me about your process. So, what, I guess, the emotion or what you're trying to evoke from the viewer or the potential collector. It seems very, very intentional.
Such an interesting question, eh? I think I don't really think about what I'm trying to elicit in the viewer. I'm definitely sitting with, is this feeling right for me? Am I loving this? Is this beautiful? Is this interesting for me? And I'm very, very comfortable with, like, I have a lot of respect for people who have an image in mind and they draw that image, but that's not my process. I just play around and throw things and mix things up until I see something that I think, this is interesting. Let me extract this and then let me polish that up. There is, like, I've done 188 now commission remixes of works from the artist Chris Kay that she then drops to holders, and that's a collage approach. So I take elements from that original and create something new, but it's all original elements. There is a degree of, I know people love the original so much, I do want to give them something that furthers their love of it. However, there are some pieces that I think the person who got it may not particularly enjoy it, because it's depart so significantly from the original. But that's what felt right to me about that piece. So yeah, I think it is really, the process is really important to me. Am I enjoying this process? Is something interesting coming out of it?
And I'm glad that you brought that up. Tell me about briefly working with Chris and how that's influenced you as an artist as well.
Yeah, I mean, just massively. I was working working in a role in a like not within Web3, in an executive role. It was very rewarding. I enjoyed the work. I sort of, in my own time, I discovered her work, and for my own fun, I began sort of remixing a piece. And then kind of shortly after that, she asked if I could work on her team. So that sort of, I've been full time within her team past couple of years. The remix is a small part of that role. But you know what really struck me at the start was, so here she is, as you know, and at that point too, really establishing herself firmly within the space. You know, huge response from the market, from collectors to her work, and I'm taking one of these works, you know, these works that people love, and I'm chopping it up and changing it. And you know, my first questions to her were like, "Is there anything I can't do? Is there anything you'd like me to do?" Like. And she was quite amazing. And I mean, I think, you know, I think true sort of leadership, and I've had this myself in aspects of life, is that sort of that comfortability when you know someone is in the right zone, you let them do what they need to do. So that, you know, her just saying, look, most important thing is I don't want you creating something and trying to get in your own head, like, oh, well, Christina, like, this is this right, or like, you create what you think is going to be great. And that's been that process. So to have another artist sort of really back your vision and back your creativity, and you know, commission close to 200 works from you, like, what an amazing way to, you know, really start for myself.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating, and it must be really nice to have a role model and someone that you can collaborate with and bounce ideas off. And I think that's the beauty of this space. Yeah. How have you found the space in that regard to drive creators? And also feel free to touch on, sounds like you have a very unique way of creating that art, and we can talk about what your profile picture is in a little bit. What do you do if you're feeling stuck, and how do you deal with that? And then potentially, how does Chris or any other creators help you with that as well?
Yeah, so I think, like, I have a small kind of personal collection called Dinner Guests, which are all one-on-one. They're all very different techniques. I think of it like as an experimental playground for myself. And that, for me, that was like, you know, well, you know, I'm doing remixes. I'm on Chris's team working with, you know, networking and all that comes with that. Sort of, it's good to have a sort of a very free creative space. So I should still like, you know, creative output of do something, you know, without any sort of anything else attached to it. Just do it. I think for those pieces, like, it's hard to think. I don't think there was ever really a stuckness, because I only really did those pieces when I was really feeling like, let's have some fun. Let's pull up the iPad. Let's just start playing around with it. But I think, so let's say with the remixes or maybe some other works I've done, I think just continuing to revisit it and to play with it. Like, I don't know, it's almost like maybe if you're needing to put like a nut on a bolt and it's pitch black or something like that, you know, like, I think you just got to keep fumbling around and playing, and or like maybe there's a black room and there's a hole in the floor somewhere, and you know, you're on the edge of the room, it's black, and you just got to keep throwing that tennis ball until it goes into the hole. Like, I don't know. No, it sounds the best meta.
It's a very interesting analogy, and it sounds like that your eye for detail, which you perhaps developed early on as a photographer, is starting to really shine through in this, you know, in this way of creating.
Yeah, I think, like, I mean, should I talk about the profile piece, or
let's jump to that. So, it might be a nice way of talking about it, for sure, and I'll pull it up whilst you go for it.
Well, I think it's a good example because, yeah, I think there is definitely an eye to detail, but there's also, I guess, very different for photography. There's also just a huge amount of chance in this, or like collaboration with the universe, or whatever you want to put it. So, because I was doing this dinner guest collection that I mentioned, and that collection is one, like, I always love those stories where you hear about, you know, these very renowned artists and these different people in their life in the early stages had a piece, you know, the postman, or the person at this place, or this friend. So that dinner guest collections are largely sort of with friends or people I've connected with. Those artworks were very, very high in detail. Like some of those works would take me a week to create. There's a piece that's going to be exhibited at Beeple Studios, a CryptoPunks event. A piece of mine is going to be exhibited there in November, and that's a very, very detailed piece. So there was a part of me that really wanted, like, just give me like, I just wanted like a blank canvas and a, an ink brush, and I just want to scroll, and I want to do something super, super quick. So what I did is I was like, okay, think of three images, like three ideas or three images, and I have to sketch them literally as fast as I possibly can, and like no more than like 2 seconds, right? So, and I can't quite remember what kicked off this piece, which is Black Earth Cell, but I think I must have been watching Rocky. I must have been a movie because I did like Eye of the Tiger is the theme song, so I did an eye, I did a tiger, and then that theme song plays as he runs up the stairs to I think it is an art gallery perhaps, a flight of stairs. Very, very bad sketches, and then just like copy paste, like duplicated, shifted, threw them around, put them all into a blender. Just keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that until I saw something within that. I was like, okay, there's something there. And then I cut all the excess away, and a little bit of, certainly no new drawing, but maybe like, oh, I don't quite like this element within this, I'll remove that. But really, this little figure in my PFP here is the creature that, that appeared. His eyes, I mean, if we look at his eye, that is the pupil of the larger eye that I drew. If you look at like one of the little triangles on his ear, that's part of one of the flights of stairs. So although my deliberately sort of poor quality initial sketch comes through, but I don't know, what I love about it is like I love the curve of his ears. I love the patchwork quilt kind of feel across the ears. I love like his little, like his hands on his hips is hilarious to me. His little fangs, like none of these are things I consciously did. Like I didn't, my hand or my brush stroke is through him all, but I didn't consciously create any of that. But I did consciously see him and carve him from the marble, if you like.
Yeah, and again, it's so different to what you've created in the past, but I can hear similarities in the thought processes. And like you said, one thing might take you a week, and then with this artwork, you set yourself the challenge to do it quite quickly, but again, intricate and built together from different pieces.
Lots of these kind of processes, and created all sorts of different like little creatures and things. So yeah, like this is not like he comes to this final form in the context of a lot of experimentation, and process to get there. They're building it brick by brick, where this one is more like I throw a ton of bricks on the work site, and then I'm picking through those bricks, sort of seeing how, seeing something that fits together and carving it out. So I guess it's almost like a curation of my own process, in the sense like I guess there are many iterations where I'm throwing these bits together, and I'm at least not seeing anything within that I can extract. In this case, there was something quite clearly there, but then there is, if you imagine sort of a page that is a mass of scribbles, like I am making the decision where I cut each of those sort of lines, where I'm demarcating his legs or the tips of the ears, and often and I did there's sort of several variants of him that are sort of have a bit more to the face, a bit more to the ears, and that's because I didn't quite cut it as close, if you like.
And I collected it. It's gorgeous, and it's in the Bitcoin orange.
Thank you so much. No, it's it's something I'd love to know more, like who has collected it, because it's such a special thing for me that anyone. That is coming. Amazing. Yeah. And honestly, because I just want to like see each one of their messages, just say like, it's amazing to have that work within their collection. It's always a crazy thing when that happens. But yeah, absolutely, Bitcoin orange. Yeah, I love the little guy. I love him.
And yeah, that's fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up as well. Tell me, as a creator, and maybe even and don't forget to tell me about the Beeple exhibition, but tell me about, as a creator, that feeling when someone has collected your art. You know, they've paid to own your art. How does that feel?
Yeah, so it's pretty wild. So the before I get to that, as you said, so I did a piece inspired by Cosimo di Medici, like, you know, the collector, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago, I think it was. I did it again, like similar to similar to, like, I think I was watching Rocky when I began sketching this Black Could Sell, but I think it just my mind thought, oh, like Cosimo di Medici, like rosemary. In any case, I drew like a watercolor illustration of a rosemary sprig, and then recreated his CryptoPunk with rosemary, basically, and minted it within like that small personal collection I said dinner guests, and thought nothing more of it, and I enjoyed having it there. And then then there was an open call from people for CryptoPunk inspired works, and I entered that in, and it got selected, and Cosimo saw it as well, and gave some real nice praise around it. So it's going to be pretty wild to have that sort of direct engagement from a couple of people that I do respect, and be up in the studios, which would be amazing. But honestly, I think more special than that, well, certainly more special than, as much as I really appreciate that feedback and that selection, the process of hearing what a work means to someone, or what they see within a work of mine, what it makes them think of. That's such a fun, such an enjoyable process. And as I said, these remixes I did for Chris K, like each one of these owners, many of them I did have a bit of dialogue with. So yeah, well, I mean, all I can say, like, it's something as I continue to create, it's something I really, really look forward to happening a lot more. Like, I think there's nothing that I find more enjoyable than saying to someone, like, tell me what you see in this artwork. Not my work, just tell me what you see in this. Like, I think there's no greater way to get in, like, start to understand who someone is, how they see the world, how they feel, than art. But if that process is also happening with works I've created, that's, extra amazing as well.
Absolutely. And what advice, if you were to summarize your experience up to this point, what advice would you give to a creator who is already in the space, or perhaps is looking to get into the space?
Yeah, it's a tricky question, hey. There's probably a few things. I think definitely, like, work on your craft, don't like, in the long run as an artist, you're never going to become all you can be by trying to chase some trend. Like, that's never, I don't know if there's any case of that ever sort of happens. So I think, like, work on your craft for sure. Connect with people. Like, there's amazing people in this space. Like, I went on this international leadership program a few years back, and from that, I've got friends in many countries of the world. And my experience within Web3 feels very similar. Like, these connections can happen very quickly. You can get a good sense of someone really quickly. And so connect with people, amazing opportunities, but just great richness within your life. And I mentioned a third thing because I don't see it being talked about a lot, which is, like, get constructive feedback on your art. Like, my mum, she went through the traditional process of art school and had mentors and all that. It's not been my path, but I think there's artists throughout time have had mentors, have worked as understudies, have had, plenty of feedback from their peers and critique and stuff. And maybe it happens within the space a lot, but I kind of don't see it. I don't see people talk about it. But I think so. As much as we can often say, trust your instincts, go with what you think is right. Like, I don't think we should discount, like, it's actually helpful at times to have people, the right people, give you constructive feedback. I mean, what skin in life doesn't benefit from that? So I would say maybe seek that out. Yeah.
Totally. And as you mentioned very aptly, is a broad stroke across our whole life. Definitely. And so to wrap up, what can we expect, on Gamma or just from Mubootes moving forward?
Well, I think there's a question you haven't asked me, which is like why would I want to mint a piece with Gamma and a print with Gamma? And no, but I think it's important to, and I mean I really do think, like, I think all you have to do is like look at how they're presented, like, and that just sort of shows the respect that the team has for artists and for art. And all you have to do is look at the Twitter feeds of people like yourself and Nick and the rest of the team and Gamma. Like, it's so clear. You're at the forefront of technology. You're at the forefront of community and art. So just to put that out there, I think you guys are doing, a phenomenal job. Yeah. So when I thought about this piece, Black Earth Cell, I should probably just mention a few times, just briefly explain like what's up with the title.
Go for it.
Yeah. So as I said, like they were sketches that I did, and then it was through within the sort of chaos of chance did I see this little creature and carve him out. So I was trying to think, what is going to be a fitting name for that sort of honors or signifies this kind of process. And I love going down rabbit holes and researching and discovering things. So there's an Egyptian word keme, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it's Keme, and it refers to the fertile soil of the Nile Valley. Ooh. The word alchemy has its roots in that word, and alchemy is the fantastical process, doesn't exist, but of turning, what were they trying to do? Like turn rock into diamond or rock into gold or whatever. So the transformation of materials. So yes, so Black Earth is the translation of Keme. So that was sort of from this junk almost of these sketches to be able to sort of transform it from this, and signifying the sort of fertile nature of this process of chaos. When I was thinking about the edition number for this piece, which has a really accessible price point, I was just thinking about sort of the long-term focus of Gamma, the long-term focus of my work, and I wanted to have an edition number that I knew would absolutely not sell out within a short period of time, because I wanted to sort of say this is the genesis of this kind of process, this chaos carving from marble process. And anyone who connects with this, I wanted to make it accessible to anyone coming in. So I did 999 of it because I'm intending to just continue to create for a long period of time. So, and grow my work and grow my contacts. But I will do more of these guys, of these characters. I've got a couple of more that I really, really love. So that's what's next in terms of prints. I will do a couple of those. I'll do them in much smaller edition sizes. Play around with that a bit. But yeah, this Sal is the origin fella.
Well, Mubootes, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, diving that a little bit deeper and learning about your creative process and more about you as a person. So once again, thank you for coming on. And also it's a pleasure to have you as part of the Gamma Partner Program. If there's anything I didn't ask you or anything that you'd like to finish off with, the floor is yours.
Honestly, thanks, Brett. Love the conversation. Super proud to be part of the Gamma program. I think there's a few things that may interest people. So if you go to my my highlights within Twitter, there is a thread where I share a few images of Black Earth Cell, the creation process. So if that interests you, you can check that out. In my link tree, you'll be able to find these remixes, and I'd really, really encourage everyone to look at them because I think they're super good. And it's interesting to see 188 versions of an original artwork sort of remixed, and check out Christina's original works, because if you like what you see in my remixes, you'll love the original. And also in that link tree is the flamingos we talked about. I do host a fortnightly Twitter space, so also follow me on Twitter for that. But what I also wanted to really share, because I think it's quite unique and I think it could be quite valuable to people, would be that I am in Mexico currently, So I'm going to be here for a year. I'm here alongside the process of the artist Chris Kay. I mentioned starting up a IRL gallery. So I think, I think for artists, the process of what it is like for someone to acquire a gallery, and so Christine has acquired the oldest, most prestigious gallery in Puerto Vallarta, which is a real arts hub. The building was the first gallery in the city. But just all the intricacies when it comes to lighting, to plastering, to like sound systems, to local networking. Like, there is so much in this process that will be shared through Christina, through Bull Market Girlfriends, through project, through me, and kind of all of us involved in this process. We don't want to. We want to share the learnings. Like, I think that's the only way we can all grow. We can't all be pioneers in everything. And for those who are sort of carving a certain path, if we can share anything along the way, we are. So that it's also going to be a real hub for like some of her collaborations will be there. There's new people we're talking to, filmmakers, musicians. So we really do want it to not only showcase really up and coming emerging Mexican talent, and established talent and established global talent, but really continue to create a lot of these connections and to be a really thriving touch point or bridge between, Web3 and the traditional spaces, and bring learnings from both together. So I guess I'm spending a little bit of time to really like showcase this. I'm not sort of plugging anything here, as you can tell. It's just to say, like, this is a very interesting process, and we're totally open to connect with anyone who resonates with this.
Oh, totally. No, that sounds brilliant. And it sounds like you've been doing a lot of learning, and there's more learning to come. And the fact that you're using it to display local talent and then emerging talent around the world, it sounds like something we'll have to have a chat with you about from Gamma, definitely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I'm pretty, I would not be surprised if we might see Black Earth Cell up in that gallery at some point.
That's what I was going to finish off with. They're going to Mubootes is up.
There's certainly going to be some of the remixes up in there, and Christina will make the final call on anything eventually. We're going to start off with most of her works in the space, but amazing conversation, Brett. I really, really appreciate it, and like, just shout out to all the other artists in the partner program. They're phenomenal, and collectors, people who are sharing about different works they've collected. Like, it's something a lot of people have said, but it's such a thriving, positive space. So well done.
No, thank you. That's what it's all about. Thanks once again, Mubootes.
Cheers, man.